In Paris, Spencer takes Trinette out to a romantic restaurant for dinner. Trinette is enchanted with Paris, but wants to know what else he's planning for tonight. He refuses to spoil the surprise. Spencer sees black gold caviar on the menu and remembers begging his dad to try it as a kid. He finally got to try it and loved it, but later learned it was just black beans. He hopes Ace gets to have memories like that. Talk turns back to Spencer's plans for the evening, and he offers to tell Trina. But she doesn't want to ruin the surprise after all. She asks what he'll be doing while she's in class. He says he wants to try and figure out what his passion is, so he's going to do some exploring. He is sorry he wasted so much time when he was here before plotting against his father and Ava with Esme. He's also sorry he dragged her into such messes, as she didn't deserve it. But she says he didn't either. He says she makes him want to be a better person. After dinner, Spencer leads Trina to the rest of their surprise, and they head outside. She can't believe this is all happening. They walk off, and Esme emerges and follows them. In Toronto, Dante and Chase, along with a Toronto cop, knock on the apartment door. Maggie opens her door and recognizes Dante. Dante asks if they can come in and talk, and she invites them in. Maggie explains she's been working here in Toronto since they last saw one another in Ireland, and things are quiet and she'd like to keep them that way. Dan doesn't want to cause trouble and explains they are just looking for Esme. Maggie says they are looking in the wrong place, as she has no idea where Esme is and she hasn't seen her in years. Maggie admits she wrote Esme months ago, but she never heard back. Danny says they have a letter from her inviting Esme to visit. Maggie suggests they get the handwriting authenticated, as she wrote no such thing. After searching the place, Chase confirms there is no evidence Esme has been there. Dante and Chase realize they've been played, and Dante asks Maggie if she knows where Esme would go. She doesn't know, and she tried to sway her to a better path years ago, but she was set on reuniting with her family. Dante thinks that might be the key. Dante and Chase step out, and Dante believes Esme may be going after Ace. Dante decides to give Laura a call. At GH, Laura sits by Kevin's bedside, but he's asleep again. She missed when he woke up, and a nurse tells Portia that Kevin has been in and out. Eventually, Kevin comes to, and Portia asks him basic questions to make sure he's okay. Laura asks who did this to him, and he admits it was Esme. Laura says they assumed it was her, and Esme has fled, but Dante and Chase are following a lead on her to Toronto. Laura asks if he has an idea why she attacked him. He says they were talking, and he thought he was getting through to her, and then everything went black. Portia leaves them, and Laura tells Kevin how scared she was when she found him on the floor of Alex's office. He jokes he didn't survive Ryan just to be done in by his daughter. Laura is upset about Esme, and she thought she could turn her life around, but then she got her memory back. Laura feels Esme didn't have a chance to reconcile her two identities before Nicholas took Ace, pushing her over the edge. Kevin doesn't think Esme would go to Toronto, and the whole thing feels off to him. He feels something happened in Alex's office that he can't recall. A detective comes to talk to Kevin about what he remembers. He recalls when he first walked into Alex's office, Esme was on the laptop and had the invader's corporate card in her hand. Laura decides to call Alexis. At the courthouse, Alexis arrives late, and Tracy appears too. Sam is chasing down more information, and Alexis learns that Muldoon saw an oncologist before coming to see Finn. Alexis asks how an oncologist missed late-stage cancer. Gregory says he didn't. Alexis is brought up to speed on the theory Muldoon set Finn up. Liz asks if this is enough for the judge to throw out the case. Tracy thinks they should put Muldoon's wife back on the stand, reveal the fraud claim, and make her crack. Martin says without proof the wife knew then it would be a risk. Tracy says if the accusation is out there in the public record, then GH lawyers can run with it. Gregory decides Tracy isn't helping and suggests they grab some water. Finn asks Martin what would happen to Mrs. Muldoon if knew about the fraud, and he says she'd be charged with jail time. Liz says they still need to find out if she was in on the fraud. Martin looks over at Diane and the wife and gets an idea. In the hall, Mrs. Muldoon cries to Diane as she has no money to pay for her children's college, let alone care if they don't win this lawsuit. Martin appears and asks to speak to Diane alone. Diane tells Mrs. Muldoon not to approach Finn. Naturally, Muldoon's wife heads into court and confronts Finn and says if he had a shred of decency,